let's start with Epstein. Yesterday, a number of members, including the two most prominent faces of the House legislation that opened up the Epstein documents, Congressman Khanna and Congressman Massie, went to the Justice Department and they started reading through the documents, which were advertised as being unredacted. And what they found is a lot of redactions. And what they say happened is these were redacted by the FBI, who then gave them to the Justice Department. And the Justice Department's view was, well, these are how we got them, so we're just going to let you read them redacted. Some stuff has been unredacted, incredible, historic. I don't know if the founders ever anticipated this, co-equal branch back and forth on X, where Ro Khanna and Massie are complaining about the documents, and the deputy attorney general's subtweeting them and saying, no, 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 here's the deal. And some things were redacted further, but as more members, including Jamie Raskin and others, go in, they're finding there are redactions. So, Melissa, are we going to see more unredactions? In other words, will this process continue on a rolling basis, or what?
I think at a certain point, the DOJ, it's going to behoove them to just get rid of the redactions other than the names of the victims and re-release them, because now you're going to get into this back and forth where the public and the press are relying on the interpretation of specific members of Congress who go in and say, I read this and this looks like actually Trump didn't ban Epstein from the White House. And I read this and it looks like there's 6 co-conspirators. And so I think they're in dangerous territory where they're now going to leave it up to members of Congress who have clear motivation to drive certain agendas, and that they should just do what they should have done all along, which is redact the names of the victims and release the rest of it, or not started down this path to begin with.
Hogan?
I think this is very typical of Congress when they go in, for example, for these Russia collusion briefs in a skiff, a private room where you can't have cell phones, et cetera. And then they come out and somebody on the Republican side says, there's no collusion. This is all a joke and a witch hunt. Democrats come to the microphone and say, oh, no, no, no. He and Putin were best friends. It is very clear by the evidence. And turned out that they weren't telling the truth and there was no collusion. But this is a similar pattern. They go in and read these things. They have the same data and they'll come out with different conclusions. Right. Now, Massie, who is a Republican, for some odd reason, who hates all Republicans, I don't know why he shouldn't switch parties, continues to side with Democrats on things when he knows the missteps he's made by allowing some of these victims to be known. You know, the victims' families filed lawsuits against them to prevent them from releasing some of the data they wanted to, because Comer's committee was doing it in a manner and Massie wasn't. So
here's what I'm confused by, though, and I ask this without prejudice and in good faith. Your party says you want transparency. The attorney general said she wanted transparency. The president at one time said he did. I hear a lot of Democrats expressing outrage at the redactions. I don't hear a lot of Republicans saying, I want to go up there and read those and make sure there's accountability for the Epstein class. Why is your party not doing that?
They are. In fact, we wouldn't even be having these conversations.
No, who's Mark? Name the Republican. Just name the Republican, not name Massie, in the last 24 hours who's gone on cable news and said, like Ro Khanna and Jamie Raskin and other Democrats, we demand the release of all the documents, protect the victims' names, but unredact everything. Why are Republicans not doing that if they support transparency?
I'm sure there are some Republicans that are doing that, but that's not the question.
It is my question.
It's your question.
And when you say you're sure,
relevant question.
Well, but when you say, well, no, should there be transparency?
Of course.
Do you demand that all the documents be released?
I demand everything should be released and everything should be protected.
Okay.
It does that if you can protect the victims.
Okay, understood.
Massie doesn't care about that.
I don't know. I'm just saying. You said you're sure there are Republicans doing it. I watched a lot of TV in the last 12 hours, and I don't see any Republican pounding the table and saying, release everything except protect the victims.
You wouldn't have the information.
Hogan, I'm asking
Republican Congress
but
and Republican president.
But Hogan, it's a factual matter that there are redactions in there that are inconsistent with the law that was passed by bipartisan majorities in Congress. So I'm asking you, why are Republicans, including the Attorney General and the President and the Deputy Attorney General, why are they not pounding where's the Speaker of the House? Why are they not pounding the table and say, protect the victims assiduously, but release everything else? I'm asking you why they're not doing it. That's the only question I want you to answer.
They have said that many, many times. Comer has said it. The Speaker of the House has said it. They've all said it. Now, if they're getting it or not getting it, that's a different question to ask. But
Melissa,
Massie knows if he's so
Melissa,
look, these Billy badasses behind the scenes piss me
Yeah.
off so much. If he's so tough,
Yeah.
then take all the names you think are redacted and go read them on the floor where
Yeah.
it's protected.
Well, they
he
might
won't do that because he wants the show.
You might be right about that. Melissa, why do you think Republicans
be.
are not pounding the table demanding transparency?
Because they realize they never should have opened this Pandora's box to begin with, because it's ricocheting back on them. At the beginning, they thought this was going to be some big conspiracy about celebrities who were Democratic donors in the Clintons. And as it turns out, this thing is littered with everyone under the sun, including very high profile members of Donald Trump's cabinet like Lutnick. And they want this conversation to be over. But they have badly botched this to a point where I don't know that it's going to be over for years. And I think that they have to confront the question to themselves: do we just release the full files with only the victims' names redacted and rip the Band-Aid off and let a couple news cycles go by and then, I don't know, bomb Iran or whatever else happens and hopefully move past it, or allow this to continue to be dragged out? But the American public is not stupid. And it's hard to justify hauling in Hillary Clinton, who doesn't know Epstein, who has nothing to add, but then not hauling in Howard Lutnick. And this is either justice applied evenly across the board, or it's not justice.
Okay.
And they're just digging themselves deeper.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two-Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.